Okay, hi guys, hi everybody. Today in Judo Training, we have the pleasure to stay here with Hans Van Essen. Maybe my pronunciation is not the best about the Dutch name. So nice to meet you. Hi Hans, how are
You're
you?
welcome. It wasn't so bad, and I know you're Spanish, so Hans Van Essen, I'm familiar with.
Yeah,
But
of
more
course.
important, people know me of Judoinside, of course.
Yeah, my accent, Spaniards, we are not the best in English, not like the Dutch. That you look English more than Dutch, but it's okay. Enough to
We'll
understand
manage.
each other. So that's great. So yeah, for the audience, just explain that Hans is the responsible of Judoinside. I think that maybe some of them don't know your face because it maybe only the people who is in the IGF tour or this kind of big events. But sure that they know your website. Maybe the most popular for judo athletes. So yeah, we are so excited to stay with you, and I would like to know more information about how did you start with this project a long time ago, and how it developed through the years. This is the
Yeah, you're
our
welcome.
idea.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Well, actually, I started 20 years ago, so I celebrated sort of anniversary this year in March, the 1st of March in 2000. 2000 it was actually no, 2002. There was the start of Judo Inside, but before that, I had already a database. I think I follow judo since the '88 Olympics in Seoul. So and a lot has happened. Of course, I was in Barcelona in 1992 in the stadium up there, and I saw there some phenomenal athletes. Also, the Spanish did very well. So I thought to become a journalist, because I knew I was going to be a journalist, I need to put things in a database. First, it was a sort of Excel sheet in a time where there were computers, but not working the way they work right now. So I let's say I formed a database, and since 20 years it's online, and people are sort of grown up with Judo Inside. Some people say I Judo Insided you, so that's like I Facebooked you. That's like a verb, and I think that's very nice that people really use the database, because it delivers just so much more than just a profile. You can get out a lot of stuff, and if I hadn't done this, then I think it would be a little bit maybe someone else has done it, but I give everything I got.
Hmm. And also, I would like to know a little bit about your background in judo, because you were judo athlete before, or a coach, or what is your background?
Let's not make it too big. I was a lousy athlete. Of course, I have a black belt in judo, like many people, and of course, I know all those throws, and I know the techniques. I know the people, and I know the techniques, and I know what is needed to be a judoka. So judo is in me. It's inside me, and we are all judo insiders as we watch Judo Inside. But I think it's more than just the sport, like people say in judo. It's much more. Recently, I had a sort of accident on my motorbike, and I just stood up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more than 50 years, and I just stood up. How is that possible? I think that's judo as well. So it's more important than just the sport alone. And it's in our hearts, and that's the good part of our sport. It's in our hearts. I grew up with judo since I was 6 years, like many kids, but I just wasn't too good enough. But I had certain goals, like you have in judo. I had a goal to become a journalist, and I became a journalist. So from the start, I knew what I was doing, and started my database. But actually, my father had a grocery, so it was complete something else. Maybe the talking I inherited, but judo I just started when I was a kid at 6.
And I would like to ask you, when you started with this project with the Judo Side, your idea is to develop the project just like the way to start your profession as a journalist in judo, or just a passion, or what is your idea when you started the project?
In 2002, I was already a journalist. I was 32 years, so I knew what I was doing. I just had it in a database. It wasn't visible for anyone else, and I think this is my great gift to judo, to the judo world, because many people who are now seniors, they grew up with Judoinside and they know what it is. They wanted to become part of the database. But I was already a journalist. I just put it online because there were many more opportunities to well, to give it to the world. And I think it's a good gift. If you're not good enough, then do something for judo. And this was my gift to judo, to open it up. And of course, I try to commercialize it. But all in all, it's also a good something good that I could share this with many people who enjoyed it over the years.
Mm-hmm. And also, I would like to ask, during the last 20 years, how is the develop of your website about the statistics? Because you know, you like the statistics. So about your audience, do you think is growing? Because maybe it's a good information about how is the judo in the world. Do you think the statistics for from your website, maybe the same countries than before, maybe new countries they are going visit your website? What can you tell us about your statistics in
Yeah,
your website?
well, it is seen everywhere in the world, so it's worldwide. Nonetheless, 50% of the audience is mainly in Western Europe. So let's say the bigger countries, of course, it started in the Netherlands. So Netherlands still has about 10% share. And of course, the United States, because there's just a lot of people, also judo fans. But of course, I think some countries really stand out. I think Italy, there are a lot of fans of Italy of Judoinside, also in Brazil. And among the 10 countries, of course, is Germany, France, Great Britain, Spain. I think those are the main countries. I focus a little bit more on judo in Western Europe, although of course judo is global. So if there is anything global, I'll cover it for sure. But most of the let's say the majority of the database is let's say from Europe. I also started with European championships, and then I expanded with African championships, Asian championships, Pan American, Oceanic, etc. So the majority is Western Europe. Still, it's seen worldwide. I think in terms of growing, well, same like a judoka. You know where you are at the Olympics. So the Olympic Games is always a good grade. And also for me, I think it was stable compared to the 2016 games. Of course, you want to grow, but it's also good that it is stable. It didn't lose despite all the Corona pandemic everywhere in the world. There was still enough, and the competition, of course, there was still enough expertise and interest on the world to watch Judoinside, to use Judoinside. Of course, in the past, there were many more things possible. You could have footage and you could film things. Now everything is settled, and it's good. IGF does a really good job about that, and they give us the footage. So the added value of Judoinside also changed because the IGF has now Judo Base. It has nothing to do with Judoinside. They of course they cover the top games that they organize, and Judoinside is not only for that. Of course, we cover that as well extensively. But we also have those national championships from the start. I work back a lot. So we have in total about 750,000 results available, over 156,000 athletes. And that's a lot. That is more than anyone could do. And well, that requires a certain craziness, judo craziness to cover this.
Mm-hmm. And also, I would like to know about do you have any support for when you start with the project to develop the website, or just you start like by yourself? Or
I started like a madman. Yeah, no, everything is self-made. I tried to do some advertisements, but on the other hand, it also annoyed me. Why should I do advertisements? Okay, to pay hosting and get that sort of support, but it's not the support that I like, because I want to give this to the world. So I need to be creative and find support, let's say financial support in another way. So I pulled them away, really, all those advertisements. It actually annoyed me myself as well. So there's no support. I give this to the world. Nonetheless, you try to, let's say, commercialize it. So it is also about the value of the data. It's not just what you show in the front page. There's so much that I can get from the database itself. And of course, federations have a need for certain added information that they would like to have now or in the next year, or find developments. For instance, if you want to know about a cadet, you would like to know the development of a potential, let's say, top 8 athlete in the world. and you would like to see historically back, maybe in that same weight category or the same gender, what is the effect, let's say, of a medal at a cadet world championships or a cadet European Cup, and then you would like to see the potential of that cadet and to know if you should invest in that cadet, of course to let him in the selection, but also invest in that person so he can develop. And for this you need a lot of data, not just the videos. I think the data is really added value for that historical data.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any help in your website, or is you alone who is working on that?
I'm not alone. Definitely, first of all, I should thank all those photographers, because I have more than 150,000 photos online to make it all visible, to use it for the news, to, let's say, spice up all those profiles. So thanks to all the photographers who always contribute, including the IGF, who does a great job. But of course, I do the extra work, the tagging of the athletes. I prefer not to have an athlete negative in Judoinside. So if I see a big ass in my photo, I don't tag the athlete because it's negative. You want to have a positive feeling if you want to have your profile. Why? Because Google picks it up, and for many athletes, Judoinside is a very valuable web page that Google appreciates a lot. So if you look up your own name, you must be standing there in a positive way. So secondly, of course, my wife is doing a lot of data entry. I have various jobs, not only in judo, also outside and within sports. But my wife also does a lot of data entry. I control it, I manage it, I publish it. But a lot is done by her, and she also understands judo and the judo players, and of course a lot of expertise on the names, on the countries, because how do you write a Korean name, how do you write a Chinese name? Well, you know all about that. Asian names, not so easy. Ukrainian names, Uzbek names. Well, there's a lot of distinction in that, and you need to try to undouble all those athletes, because sometimes you get a source where you have a different name, but it's the same person. So you need to undouble those. I think that's very important, and that makes the difference with all the other, let's say, initiatives there are online. And I think Judoinside is the #1 source.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Okay, and also because you tell that yeah, you have other jobs, so finally you can live just with the Judoinside. So all the jobs is related to judo or in other fields in journalism?
Yeah, so, some are judo related because first of all, I was a couple of years ago, I was the media director of the EGU, the European Judo Union.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a job. But when I finished that job in 2014, I also added the news. So there's a lot of time involved. I already had the database, but on the other end, you cannot live from this. You can make some extra money perhaps, but you just pay your hosting and what you need to do, maybe some marketing, but I still need to have a job. So I have been a sales manager in a sports data company. So there is the passion. It's a combined mix of data, sales, and also journalism. I worked 14 years there to sell not only judo, but also other sports to Olympic Games broadcasters, like now currently Discovery in Europe, CNBC. There are so many broadcasters who need to have, let's say, the need for data. Also betting companies, but they haven't discovered me. So there's a lot of future in front of us for everyone. But of course, judo is not ideal to bet on. But I'll be keen to watch that world as well, and maybe in the future. Of course, judo is not the best sport to bet on. For this, you have betting, you have UFC, you have boxing. So it is popular. It's head-to-head. It's one-on-one. So maybe in the future we can gain something out of it, but in a positive way, that people find a good data source. And I think I'm the #1 data source with Judoinside, and see if there's anything to gain for the judo world in general.
Mm-hmm. And about how's your daily routine working on your website? Because, for example, my website, that of course is not as big as and important as yours, but I just it's part of my free time. I try to update, but not maybe 1 week update more, other week I'm busy and don't work so hard. But maybe in your case, you need to have your routine every day, spend a few hours working on the data, or how is your daily?
My routine is 24/7. So no, if I see something, I want to do it immediately as possible, because otherwise I may forget. Of course, I have a system, I have a database, so I can see what was organized last year and can do it now. But in the time of Corona, not much was organized last year. So in fact, I would like to do it immediately, and I do this, let's say, 24/7, and I mix it up with other jobs, of course, because I also sell judogi. I'm one of the distributors for Netherlands and Belgium of Ippon gear. I'm also commentator for Eurosport, a European Pan American channel, so also for the Winter Games, for instance. So that's totally outside of judo. Of course, the Summer Games I did judo. So let's say it's mixing up with all those things. And I think it's nice to do, but mainly if I see something on Facebook, I see a result. For instance, I saw a result in Switzerland, I do it immediately, because when it's done, I can publish it and I won't forget it. So it's in the database, and I think then it is for, let's say, for the future, everyone can see it, and then it's history. Judo is history then.
That's great. Okay, and about the IGF, because now I think everybody know that they are investing more, maybe in media, improve the website, and all these kind of things. First, what is your opinion about that? And also about judo base, do you think it's a competitor or is different job, or what is the main difference?
Of course, IGF, they have a long history. They exist since 1951, but let's say from a serious media point of view, I think they started when Marius Visa came as a president. It was in 2007 in Rio at the World Championships. I think from there they started with media offices. A long time, let's say the general secretary has always been in France, and still the secretariat is in France. So the French were very influential, and they have Nicolas Messner there as a media director. But last year also Pedro Lasuen from Spain joined the team, and you need in fact to have the best quality in the IGF. Still, I think you can never be satisfied about what you do. There's a lot of things to improve. Yeah, we talked about this many times, also with me, also with Marius Visa. But as far as their opinion is, they want to do it with the current team, which is totally okay. They have fantastic photographers, 4 years, so they're very experienced. But I'd say they have a small team. They write a lot. You can debate on the quality of the articles, but you can say that about Judoinside as well. It is not always high quality. You try to get the best, but it's also a piece of entertainment. And I think if we try to publish everything, well, let's say one article per day, you have quite some nice entertainment, but it's not always in-depth journalism. So IGF also knows that I publish things that they would never publish. And that has a big interest of many judo fans. Also the articles that, well, cannot be published by a federation. I know they're not doing it. Maybe later they will always have to to check if they can write it in this way. It's always sensitive. I have more freedom to do whatever I can do. So yeah, there are a lot of scoops. People tip me to publish it. So I have a little bit more freedom than the IGF in that way. I'm not a competitor, maybe for them, but I don't think they see it. Same as I don't see that Judo Base is a competitor to me. They have a database. They should have started it. It would be silly if Judoinside was the only database in the world. So they cover their events, and of course they try to, let's say, to raise the level and also get some national influences and national results. But that's not so easy. I know I do this for, let's say, 25, 30 years already. What I just mentioned about de-doubling names, it's a very, let's say, energetic job. You have to have knowledge here. You have to have knowledge about computers. It's not only about entering from national federations. That still is utopia. It does happen, but there are a lot of mistakes if many people are going to make the entry. So I think I am sort of one man's army with little help, of course, with some friends and family. but I still can do a lot of things. I enjoy it. I think passion is the most important thing for do what you want to do. And in that way, we are not a competitor. I try to add value with all those national results, also for cadets, juniors, seniors. And IGF does not have the priority to do it, and they cover their events really, really well. So it's a compliment, and we are not competitors.
Mhm. That's great. And also about the rules, our sport is always changing the rules the last years. So some of the reasons they tell the IGF, they always say that it's trying to improve the for the spectators, make the judo more interesting for to watch in TV. Or are you agree as a journalist? Do you think the new rules are doing the judo more interesting or not? What is your opinion about?
Yes and no. In general, I agree because the Olympic Games are really, really not good. We all saw it, and I'm a TV commentator for Eurosport, so of course I saw it. It is not so easy to do commentary for judo when, let's say, a match is 12 minutes,
Yeah.
a little bit boring. People don't understand what's happening. I think IGF is wanting to make clarity of the rules. So all those changes of the rules are important. It could make it attractive. I think it wasn't so bad what they've done after 2012. They changed a lot of things, but also you cannot pick the leg anymore. But you see a development that athletes adjust to the current circumstances, and they make a very nice technique. They also make a izaguruma, and they do pickup techniques the way we didn't expect it. So that is developed. And the only thing that I regret now is they take out the reverse techniques, because they were really nice. Reverse Ippon Sainaga, very surprising. You can hardly defend it. And I think this is the reason they take it out. But there was no explanation. And that surprises me, why there was no clear explanation to the world of judo. Okay, some people know, but to the world of judo and all our fans, why they take out those reverse angle, or the reverse Ippon Seonages and reverse techniques. Very likely because they really point on safety. So you cannot make a head dive anymore, and some throws are really hard to defend. And of course, the reverse techniques are also hard to defend, but they are so spectacular. And from that point of view, I respect what they do. They try to make it safer, but that's also a little bit pain of the ass that it is less attractive. But we have to see, athletes will adjust to the current situation and still make judo as attractive as it was in the past. There are also some good rules, some warnings instead of straight a penalty. And also fixing the hair with the women, it could really delay the match, and I think it's not necessary. And yeah, it's good that they penalize these kind of things and make judo faster, but they have to make it understandable. I think I'm a little bit critical now on the referees. It was not the level that we expect at the Olympic Games, that we simply expect. That it was clear, that there were clear and all the same consequence penalties, and it was done inconsequently, and that has to improve, because 1 week later, or let's say a month later, I saw the Cadet World Championships, and how spectacular was that compared to the Olympic Games? It was huge. It was fantastic to see. Okay, youngsters, they can make a lot of mistakes, and that's why it's also spectacular to see. The seniors are a little bit more defensive. Still, there's a lot of power judo possible, and the World Championships weren't so bad as well. So I think, yeah, that the Olympic Games really didn't make the level, and everybody could see it. And this is why they made a few changes, but there were some necessary changes anyway. So I think they've done their job, but I regret that the reverse techniques are left out.
Mhm. And about the media, how do you think the judo, the world of judo, we can improve about have better position in the media? Maybe we have more possibility to find a sponsor, to more advertisement, or some companies they decide to invest in judo. What do you think is the secret? Why judo? We are not the best doing this kind of job. What do you think?
That's true. Yeah, we're not a sexy sport in that way. We can make it sexy if we have a good coverage, but live judo is not so easy to understand. It's not super sexy. It's not super spectacular, but it can be. It can be. But also you need to make use of all the techniques there are. For instance, the 360 camera is quite nice. You can use it. So all the different angles, the reverse angle from other sides is very important. Also in the refereeing, of course. But we talked about data. Data is not everything, but you can use data to make a story. Storytelling is tremendously important, and I think we can win a lot because you need to compare a certain situation on tatami, what is happening right now, with something 30 years ago. Of course, judo changed, but the heroes didn't change. You need to make heroes, and that storytelling also in advance. In fact, for every match there is a story to tell. And of course, if you're live and you have all the time of the world, for instance, in a coverage of a Grand Prix or Grand Slam, 6 hours on a day in a live stream, you can tell those stories. Still, that is not done enough. And if you get the help of data with the database that you can use, so there should be, let's say, a mix of a commentator and a data analyst. Okay, I know because I'm that guy to make immediate use of data, what is happening right now on the tatami, and translate it into a story. In advance, during the match, everything is possible if you use data into a story. So storytelling, also in real stories on the IGF website or in Judoinside, is tremendously possible. It takes a little bit time. It takes investments and also a lot of knowledge to understand what happened 30 years ago, what happened 20 years ago. That is not about data. That's also about remembering what happened, what was essential for judo. So I think storytelling is something we can really work on. IGF is doing a good coverage with TV. Still, I don't see, let's say in the Netherlands, for instance, or maybe in Spain, live coverage of all the events. I don't get it. It's not everywhere at the broadcaster. So judo is also not top of mind at the broadcaster. So we also have to do a lot, make more heroes in judo, to make judo more important in the world of sports. I think we are now group 3 of all the IOC sports. We went from 4 to 3, so there's a lot to do before you get into a second group, which generates more money. And if you then speak about sponsors, okay, it is nice to have a sponsor that sponsors a certain part in graphics or in TV coverage or certain angles or previews. You can really make a preview sponsored by a certain company that has, let's say, the same kind of values in judo. I think that it is possible to find, but you need to have, let's say, the departments to find a match between a sponsor and judo. It's not so easy. They're not in the line. There's a lot of competition of other sports. They're now standing in the line for climbing. Climbing is quite a small sport with the same kind of, let's say, elements of judo. You need to have a strong grip. You need to climb. You use all your elements, all your muscles. And it became quite popular, and they are certain already to be at the Olympic Games in Paris in 2024. So we need to do a lot to make it a little bit more sexy, but it is not so easy. I don't have the direct solution, but definitely TV footage, get it everywhere, push it out a little bit more. It's not about sporting rights and getting money. You get the money at the Olympic Games. That's not the problem, but you need to push it out to national broadcasters. And I think also national broadcasters must do a little bit more now with all the possibilities of having multi-channels. They can do a lot more to broadcast judo, but you also need to sell it on the TV. You need to have the right commentator to make a really fancy story that it is attractive for people to watch the judo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think we need to make the change. Yeah. And about the statistics in judo, because now I think it's not just about the media. I think it's interesting just for coaches, because now you can find new website like Judo Data that you can find good statistics about all the international big events or IGF Tour, and also another software like Athlete Analyzer that you can at least have statistics from your own videos. So what do you think is the development of the statistics in judo? Because I remember I started to work in volleyball many years ago, and yeah, the statistics is very important just for the athletes, just for the coaches. So I think in judo we still to develop this part of the of the sport. Yeah. What do you think about it?
That's for sure. We don't use any chips because it would be very interesting to use chips in the judogi or somewhere else in the belt that you can see all the movements of the athletes. Because you mentioned indeed volleyball and field hockey were one of the two sports that really stood out when it comes to analysis. And of course, you do it the same with analyzing the movements of the athletes, the way they're standing, the way they're gripping. There are also the French who have developed this for sure. The Japanese study this, but they keep it a little bit for themselves, which I understand. The European tend to share a lot more when it comes to knowledge. And in general, the IGF wants to encourage that we share this kind of data. But a lot can be done, and you're right. Volleyball is much further in the development of using statistical backgrounds, so we can understand. Okay, this is a one with standing with the right leg and a left grip. So we understand all these kind of things. So we can also show it into TV graphics that it is very logical, and then you have a story if something does something unlogical. So you can have a story as a commentator. So if all these data are more familiar, yeah, then we can make nicer stories. I think data storytelling, again, I say that word, is the key. But you need to have the data. Data development is doing well. Also, not only judo based, but also the judo database of Emilio Centracchio. He's really putting a lot of effort. There's also a lot of passion on his side to make this website really nice. And it also depends on the coach. How far do you want to go? How important is data for you? Sometimes you need just one small element to motivate an athlete or to giving the right data about his opponent. I don't think that analysis of opponents is done enough. It also depends on the judoka. Some judokas say, well, I just go into the match, whoever I meet. And some coaches are really analytical. You see a young generation now of many coaches around, let's say 35, 40, who tend to use more data, more video analysis. And I think video analysis helps, but we need to, let's say, to track it a little bit more with technology so that we can see all those movements of the athletes. And also from the coverage that we have a nice top view to see the judokas and that we recognize those movements. So we can also recognize when somebody is going to throw. Of course, the fans see it, but we need to make judo for the bigger audience, for the Olympic audience. And this is why judo is just important, let's say one time in 4 years. I exaggerate a little bit, but for the world fans of sports, judo is only important at the Olympic Games, and that is your showcase. And we didn't do a good job there. So we need to work hard in the next Olympic Games qualification. Is just 3 years, actually 2.5 to go for the Olympic Games. Let's say we know who can be qualified. That's just little time. So we need to work hard and also work on coverage, but also storytelling. I think that's a part where we can win a lot.
Okay, and just the last question, because I know you are a busy man. I don't want to
no problem.
Make it longer. So just I would like to ask about the future in Judoinside. I listened some of your podcasts. In the last one with Judo Fanatics, you told about sometimes you have a problem with because you have a big database. So sometimes make the website maybe slower. So what is the future? Maybe develop a more powerful website, or what are you working on?
Well, actually, I already did an investment in 2021 to have another layout, to have some other statistics. So that was already done. Also, I removed the advertisements, but that is all the environment. It's not the data. The data I won't change. Okay, I always want to go into the depth. I always want to go into the history, but that is not new. I think that's the added value that I go in depth. In the history, I mean, in depth. In depth in terms of data, that I would collect more data per event, for instance, all the throws, all the techniques, all the seconds. That is not the added value of Judoinside. You need to have a live coverage there with referees, with let's say judges, with tables, with technique, that they immediately add the technique, that they analyze it, go into an automated system. That is not the added value of Judoinside. We make the stories, We make the news every day. So in that terms, I don't need to change the data. The storytelling is always something that is, let's say, a journalistic task, and not everyone has that availability of combining data with history and make a story out of it under pressure. You always want to push it as soon as you can. So you always want to be the fastest. So in that terms, no changes. I just want to offer it in the perfect way, and I think Judoinside proved it, because Judobase is a copy of Judoinside. There is a website in France having the same kind of data structure as Judoinside. So in fact, everybody's happy. Everybody understands how I deal with data and how they should read it. But there's a lot more possible, and I think especially in video analysis. But I leave that up to the experts and to video analysts who really also have the rights to use the data and to use the data from the event, and to use the data which is covered by the TV broadcasting. Mm-hmm. Those combinations of video and data is valuable, but the storytelling, there it starts. I think there we can make heroes, and I think many people could add value there. So feel free to tip Judoinside if you have a good story. I'm happy to publish it and to look into it. Of course, everybody has the same certain level of news coverage, what is interesting, maybe what is not interesting, but just tip us, and we'll see if we can make a story of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much, Hans, for your time and for sharing.
You're welcome, Felipe.
All your experience during the last more than 20 years with this project. So I hope the website still grow up more and more. Yeah, thank you.
It will definitely develop, and I would also like to thank you because you're also doing a lot of job as a passionate coach. You are now in China. China is for me, let's say, a big gap. So I also need to collect the history of the Chinese champions and make history because you have a few assistant coaches who were former Chinese athletes, even from Japan. You had them. So I would like to make heroes of them, add some photos, and we can work on this. Every federation can make its own, let's say, sales of their athletes. And I think every federation has a task to do, much bigger than they think. So I'm happy to get all those historic results of China. Not so easy, China, you know.
If you need any help with the Chinese athletes or any
I will call you.
I can help, not you, me directly, because I'm not good enough.
Chinese is not my best language, I know.
Yeah. Me too. So
we need some help. Everybody needs help, and definitely we make something better of it.
So that's good.
You're welcome.
All the best, and see you soon, Hans. See you.
All the best. Ciao.
Bye. Okay, I'm going to stop.